This video is about synapses and how they work. There are billions of neurons in the body, like the two shown here, and they connect up to form pathways that carry messages. Neurons aren't attached to each other though. There's a tiny gap between them called the synapse, okay? And here you can see there's a tiny gap between these two neurons, and this is called the synapse. Information from one neuron needs to be passed along the synapse, transmitted along the synapse, to get to the next neuron. This is done using transmitter chemicals. If we zoom in on this, so this is what a synapse looks when we've zoomed in. So we've zoomed in, we've got the end of one of the nerves here, and we've got the end of another nerve here, and a tiny gap between them called the synapse. Transmitter chemicals cross this synapse, and that is how information gets passed from one neuron to another. And this happens really quickly because the synapses are so small. You need to know exactly how this works. So, when an electrical impulse reaches the end of a neuron, okay, shown here, the electrical impulse is the red arrow, it triggers a release of these chemicals, these neurotransmitters, shown here as the small purple dots, that are present in the end of the neuron. They get released into the synapse, okay, so they get released from the end of the neuron into the synapse. These transmitter molecules diffuse across the synapse. They diffuse across the synapse and they bind to receptor molecules in the other synapse, shown here in orange. Okay, they bind to these receptor synapses that are shown here in orange. They bind onto them, sticking into the correctly shaped site, just like with enzymes that we've talked about before. Only specific transmitter molecules, okay, the ones that are the right shape, can fit onto the receptors. Once the right transmitter molecule that's the right shape is fitted onto the receptors, when they bind to it, this stimulates a new electrical impulse in the next neuron. And in this way, the electrical impulse passes from the first neuron, the neurotransmitters diffuse across the synapse, and then it stimulates an electrical impulse in the next neuron.